How cavalier Belos is in terms of revealing the truth about himself is one of the most chilling elements of Hollow Mind. He has kept all of these secrets hidden within himself to preserve his mystique, but in the depths of his mind, believing that neither Luce nor Hunter is going to escape the wild and nightmarish and feverish impulses that define him come out into the open. There's no hiding anymore. There's no more deception. It's just pure, unstable, unmoored, completely nightmarish bile. It's just pure, psychotic, nihilistic villainy. My favorite moment of these dark moments is when he openly calls himself a witch hunter. This is, of course, a world wherein a large percentage of the population is witches. So that has a much darker connotation even than it would have in our world. Of course, it is a familiar term to Belos, who of course is from 17th century Puritan England. Why it matters that he's willing to call himself a witch hunter is that it demonstrates the driven, monomaniacal intensity of his desire to get rid of the witches. We have known for a while that the Day of Unity is not this pleasant fun times event, and that it was going to require a lot of sacrifices from people who were not aware that they were being used as ritual sacrifices until it was too late. But this episode demonstrates fully how that is Belos' main objective. He does perhaps have other ambitions. I assume that he does want to go to Earth, and he does want to merge the two worlds together. But getting rid of magic, wild and otherwise, and causing great pain and anguish to the witches is not just collateral damage for him, it is one of his major intentions. And even Hunter is no different. Hunter looked up to Belos. He thought Belos cared about him. He viewed Belos as the closest thing he has in his life to a real parental figure. And Belos, it turns out, doesn't care about him at all. It's bad enough that he views him just as a tool to reach his own extremist, fantastical, wild, cold-hearted ends, but it's worse that Hunter was just made by Belos as this clone for this purpose. He has no distinct identity for Belos outside of his function in this role. He has no real personhood for Belos. This is a crushing blow for Hunter, and it's one that is going to take him a long time to process, considering how deeply he had felt it in his heart that he had to serve Belos, that his worth was defined by his ability to prove to Belos that he was honorable and just. To find out just how deep is Belos' indifference to his well-being, and how much Belos relishes using him for his own purposes. It's such a blow to Hunter that it completely disrupts Hunter's basic sense of self, and Hunter is going to need a lot of time to recalibrate that. But that is, of course, not Hunter's most immediate concern right now. His most immediate concern is staying alive, because Belos, knowing that Hunter has become disobedient, knowing that Hunter has started to establish his own ideals and his own identity and his own viewpoints outside those of Belos, is going to try to kill him. And this is not an idle threat. This is exactly what Belos has done to all the Golden Guards before him, including Darius's mentor, the last Golden Guard before Hunter. Just being inside Belos' mindscape is disorienting. As Luce implies, it is not as peaceful and orderly, if shadow-draped, as Willow's was. Willow had some problems, but you see that she's still mostly a caring and tender-hearted person. Belos' mindscape is just warped and disorienting. He's so consumed by his darkest impulses that he's not even powered by ambition or a desire for power anymore. It is just pure, vehement hatred that has taken over his soul. He is not that invested in people worshipping him. He's not invested in expanding his control to Earth, or honoring any ancestors of his, or imposing any ideology, or any relatively normal and sensible objective for a ruler to have, even if one disagrees with them. Belos is just fueled by destruction and rage, concealed as it might be by his stately demeanor and his British accent. And this is why I think Belos works as an antagonist for me, especially in this episode. I'm not usually one for pure evil baddies, but this is something a little different. This is just feverish derangement. He's coming apart. His mindscape is almost deteriorating. There's a sense of complete incoherence and instability there. There is no orderly construction in his thought processes. He's just fueled by destruction. He cares nothing for all the hunters he has to sacrifice. He's so far gone that he has perverted the image of his brother, whom I believe he did care about at one point, but has just completely abandoned and transformed into this grotesque parody of himself. These series of hunter clones that live only long enough to disappoint Belos, just like the original Golden Guard. Meaning Philip's brother, if he was the original Golden Guard, did. As we see in the paintings in Belos' mindscape, the true story is even darker than anything we get in the episode itself. We see, number one, that Hunter's likeness, Philip's brother, does look exactly like Hunter and all the Golden Guards before him. Now, there is said to be some slight differences, and Belos says that Hunter looks the most like his brother out of all the Golden Guards, but these differences are perhaps only visible to someone like Belos, who is obsessed with bizarrely recreating the death of his brother, and might not be as visible to us, the viewers. Also, it's worth noting that this death is probably something that Belos himself orchestrated, which is extremely bleak. Now, I appreciate all the wonderful people on Reddit for pointing me toward these paintings, which I did not notice to such an extent the first couple times I watched this episode. I saw some of them, but not all of them. Reddit might be filled with bile quite often, but it is a great place for the accumulation of theories. So thanks to all the wonderful people on Reddit for giving me inspiration for this. We see all these great images, these harrowing, stark images, and we see pieced together the overall story of Philip and his brother, and it's a somber, tragic story. The kinder interpretation that a lot of people have had about Philip and his brother is that Philip might have become so vehemently anti-witch because his brother was killed by a witch, but that's not really the case. Philip became so resentful because he's a witch hunter. They're supposed to be witch hunters. And then his brother fell in love with a witch. Philip's brother was older, and he carved the first mask for Belos, the mask that we see little kid Belos wearing during Hollow Mind. They came to the Boiling Isles at a younger age, when they were pretty close to the same age Luce is right now. And they really started breaking apart when Belos became so committed to sucking out all the energy in the Palisman and using them to attain great power, whereas Philip's brother fell in love with the witch and perhaps had a change of heart. The two brothers perhaps attempt to reconcile, with Philip's brother even hugging him when Belos is in this monstrous transformed state. But then they fight. Philip has a knife. And admittedly, it doesn't look like a sneak attack on his brother. It looks like they fought a sort of duel, and Philip's brother lost, and Philip left him there to die. The witch Philip's brother fell in love with chased him away, and Philip fully committed to becoming Belos, becoming this cold-hearted, tyrannical emperor who wanted to destroy magic and witchkind at all costs, just completely giving in to his madness and his deranged ambitions. Hunter is doomed if he stays with Belos, he knows that. So hopefully he will try to escape, whatever the consequences might be. As for Belos, it's quite interesting, the fatalism that seems to develop with each successive Golden Guard. These guards inevitably have too much of Philip's brother's independence, enthusiasm, and compassion to allow themselves to be controlled by Belos, so Belos is always disappointed. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this one before anyone else. Keep watching The Owl House. I love how every episode that we get about Belos reveals darker and murkier layers to his distorted psychological landscape. Can't wait to see what they do in the last couple episodes. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.